We interviewed a bunch more architects, but this time it's for our home build. In the previous vlog about building our home in the Philippines, you saw that we interviewed a handful of architects, and this was for the retaining wall and the backfilling of our land. Upon rethinking things, we decided to back it up from that. Instead, we are going to focus on the home build so that we can best assess from there what the land actually needs, because we don't even know where the house is going to be placed and all those details. So get ready with me while I get you guys updated on everything that's happening with that. So we did interview some more architects. We did not film everything while we were interviewing all of the architects that we met with, because a couple of things. We knew that it was going to be a really in-depth interview, and we just kind of didn't want to overwhelm the person when we were doing these kinds of one-on-one interviews. We met with a couple of architects, and I won't get too much into detail with every single one of the interviews that we did, but I'm going to talk mostly about the main one. We saw a little bit of a preview in a previous video that we were kind of scoping out some of their work before meeting with them.
A lot of it's like, as you can see, like you definitely have a lot of wood aspects in here. You see the metal, but that's like that type of metal, those are like beams that you see in skyscrapers. Those are not like, these aren't beams you just put in a house. I like that because they are put in a house, and that's kind of cool. So it adds a lot of dynamic to it.
We were doing this for a couple of reasons. One, because we wanted to see their work in person. There's obviously photos of things, but it's a whole different story when you're going to see it in person, especially since you want to see how the space has responded to weather conditions and how old the building is and how it's still standing.
Okay guys, we're on the way. I'm just waiting for Hailee. She's almost ready, and then yeah, we're gonna head on over there. It's called the Lewis House, and I think they designed it. So we're gonna go meet Bougie and his wife, a husband and wife architect team. We've seen some of their work so far, and we've gotten a bunch of recommendations about them specifically. So yeah, we're gonna go talk with them and see what we can do.
So we met with Nikki and Bougie Labarnes. Upon viewing their work, we already really liked them. And then after we actually met with them in person, 110%, really love them as people. You can tell that they take a lot of pride in their work, and they're genuinely just really happy to be working with people and making their dreams and their visions come true for the projects that they're going to be working on them with. Also, a lot aligns in terms of like style, also keeping design but also functionality. So these things were really important to us. And I'm sorry, what the heck am I looking for? Ultimately, things were just making sense. One of the biggest takeaways that I will say, and my biggest worries about building in the Philippines, one is, of course, things like termites and the crazy storms. So I had a lot of questions regarding those things and what they kind of do in their builds to help mitigate those issues. Also, speaking of weather, things like heat, because if you don't live in the Philippines, then you probably don't know this, but if you do live in the Philippines, you know that electricity here is very high. So just to give you like a comparison, what we paid, I'm gonna have to double check this with Henry. What we paid in the States versus what we pay here. So it's really high. And so obviously solar is something that we really are thinking about and we want to do. But one of the big things we noticed when we went to go view their spaces is that there's no aircon in these spaces, but it feels incredibly cool. And so if you haven't seen like older style Filipino homes, but they have kind of like these shutter things that are really cool looking, but their placement of them and how they put certain fans that they actually end up putting on the ceiling, it creates this constant airflow that circulates through the spaces, and it feels amazing. So they, with their designs and just everything that they do, the details, the attention to details in terms of like design, comfort, all of it is incredible. As you can already tell, I am obsessed with them. They also do really like Japanese architecture, which same. So do I, so does Henry, and obviously we do really like mid-century modern. The other thing too is, you know, we are quite young and coming from the States where like building a home is not something that is as common that you would hear people doing. So we don't know the process about going about and doing these things. And I think that they're extremely helpful in taking us through this process that we really don't know anything about. Their reputation definitely precedes them. They've built some really beautiful spaces here in San Juan Loñan, but across the board, one of the things that you can tell about a lot of the things that they've worked on is that it's very well thought out, it's timeless, and it's that mid-century modern design architecture while feeling really warm and welcoming. I feel like I feel like Henry already knew as well. After we saw their work, especially in person, we were just kind of taken back with how amazing it is. And then especially after meeting them in person, I mean, it was just, where do we sign? When you're going through something that is this important, obviously you want to like their work, but you also need to like the people as well, I feel, because you're going to be working with them very closely on something that's very personal to you. So they really have to know and understand your vision and be wanting to listen and hear you out on the things that are important to you, which was another reason why right off the bat I'm like, they're amazing, because I don't know all down to the T of what I should be looking at or should be needed to know for a design. And so they're asking us, like, do you have your list? Like, what are some things that you want? And I guess we had thought about certain details and certain things, like stylistically maybe, but we really didn't have like a full list of like how big do you want certain rooms and like all of those kinds of things. They're just things that I didn't think about.
Do you want two separate toilets in our master bath?
No, I'm good with one.
It just takes so long on the toilet sometimes.
I'm just kidding. Also, a lot of the builds here, it'll be like their property line starts here and then their property line ends here. And that's exactly how they build. Like they'll build from literally boundary to boundary, all house. I don't like that. I don't want that. I want land, I want greenery. And someone commented this, I think in the previous video, and they're like, I really hope you still keep a lot of the natural things around your land. 100%. 100% homie. That is what we're doing, fam, because we're from Washington State. Okay. Greenery. Greenery is my life, okay? I gotta have my greenery. And I love trees. I love nature. We also have Mojo, our dog, who also, you know, he's getting older, but I do still want him to have spaces to walk around, you know, go about as he'd like. Since we've moved to the Philippines, Mojo can't really just like go out on his own. It's easy for him to be able to get into things that he's not supposed to. Also, outside of the gate, there are a lot of street dogs, and there's been occasions where the street dogs will try to attack Mojo. And Mojo is a indoor baby dog. He does not fight, and he just essentially hides behind me. And that's why a lot of people in our area actually walk around with sticks if they're walking their dogs. It's because stray dogs will try to attack. That's why on our land, I do kind of want to have like some kind of walkways, like maybe some kind of trail that's going through the forest areas, because we are going to retain a lot of that forest area. The other thing too is that we do want to have space to plant, because Philippines is an amazing place to grow all of your own fruits and vegetables. And I would love to get to a place, especially when I'm in retirement, where I'm just kind of living off grid and being mostly self-sustainable. Especially since we're going to be doing solar and stuff. I'd love to do more of that kind of lifestyle. Obviously, we will be doing the retaining wall and all of that stuff, but that's going to come later after we've actually had the design drawn out to see what we actually need for the property. We're happy about the size of our lot and very, very, very happy with the choice of our lot. but we are also interested in expanding. So we are still in kind of like a middle space of like, what more can we do to optimize the piece of land that we have? I know someone mentioned to put up like a chicken wire fence around it for the time being, so we probably will be doing something like that. For now, we do know that Nikki and Bougie are going to be the ones who design our home. I think they're the perfect fit, and we really feel like we can trust them wholeheartedly with this design, and it's gonna be an amazing experience. They've already given us so much advice and helped so much to help our process or give us options on how we should potentially go about our build, because we are still undecided on a couple of things. Initially, we looked at it like maybe doing something similar to how Henry's mom has it, where she has a main house, guest house, and then an additional home which could be used for a staff house or the helper's house. And so that was the initial plan. We are also thinking of other ideas, having everything under one roof and having multiple wings. We also are thinking maybe just 2 structures. Still pretty undecided about having like a staff house. I just don't know if that's something I feel comfortable with, and I don't even know if that's something that we need. I do know that it's a common thing here in the Philippines to have a helper versus like in the US, that's not something that you will commonly hear about. But I'm just not there yet, and kind of the idea of it still makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable because it's just so different from what I'm used to. So I'm not sure yet on that. I know for sure we will have a main house and a guest house, whether it be under 1 roof or 2 roofs, I don't know. Maybe we still are trying to figure that out. There's a lot of details that we're still trying to figure out, so bear with us. I also want to really thank you guys for all of your comments on the last video. We really did not expect all of those really helpful comments. I feel a lot more inclined to post a lot more videos like this because I'd love to hear more from you guys as we go through these experiences, because it really does help since we are babies in these situations. So especially if you have experience in building homes and things like that, just leave us your tips and your pointers. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. If you'd like to see more of Nikki and Bougie's work, you can check them out on hashtag Studio Labarnes or also their Instagram, Studio Labarnes. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next vlog. Bye!